Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb, author of the book, The Miracle of Prosperity, as well as several others, including Prosperity from A to Z, The 30 P's for Prosperity, and Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you every Sunday evening. And these shows live forever on my YouTube channel. What we're discussing tonight is opening your heart to prosperity. And the reason that we're discussing that is because the energy of love is the energy of God. And the energy of God, which is the energy of love, is also the creative force. So the heart center is a focal point and a repository for the energy of God and the energy of love. And the more we open our hearts, the more God's love flows in. And prosperity is simply all the different ways that God's love can be made manifest in your outer world. So prosperity is simply all the different expressions of God's love. So the more you open your heart to God's love, God's light, and an awareness of God's presence, the more creative power you have to allow that light to outpicture or to manifest as loving experiences in your life. And it can take all kinds of forms, for there are so many forms of prosperity. There's professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, you have a wonderful job with wonderful pay, where you offer a wonderful service in a wonderful way. There's also family prosperity, where your family relationships are harmonious. There's relationship prosperity, where your relationships at large are harmonious and all relationships are uplifting and supportive to you as you are uplifting and supportive to yourself from within. There's logistical prosperity, where your life just works more easily and effortlessly, and all the struggles become navigable and then non-existent. There's physical prosperity in the form of a body that works optimally for your soul's purpose. And of course, there's financial prosperity, where money is no longer a source of worry or concern, but is a source of joy because you have more than enough to spare and more than enough to share. So those are just some of the forms prosperity can take. But no matter how this prosperity outpictures in your life, this prosperity is an outer reflection of your inner energy and opening your heart to more of God's presence, God's love, and God's creative power opens your heart to prosperity. And that's what we're going to discuss tonight. Opening your heart to prosperity. And we're going to discuss that tonight with a shaman, healer, medical intuitive, and a licensed mental health professional, Jim Goodwin, my friend. And I'm so glad to have you, Jim. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we're glad you're here. And one of the things you talked about in a recent course that you gave that I was so impressed with was you talked about the heart chakra and the importance of the heart chakra. Mm-hmm. Can you tell our audience a little about that?
Well, the heart chakra is located right in the center of the chest. From a holistic perspective, it's right in the middle of everything that we know ourselves to be. We've got 7 primary chakras up through the midline of the body. So the heart chakra being chakra number 4, there's 3 above representing the higher self, and there's 3 below representing our lower self, our earthbound self. So the heart chakra is a circulatory center right in between those different aspects of ourselves. Every chakra contains both a mind component, a physical component, and a spiritual component. So
Mm.
to be right in the center, we certainly want it open and flowing with ease.
So it sounds like the heart chakra is quite important in our uh, ability to allow prosperity. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Essential.
Yeah. So why is it important for us to keep our heart chakra open?
We want to be in the flow. We are amazingly well created beings. We're created in the image of the divine.
Mhm.
And so to flow easily with all of the energies that are available to us within us and around us, the heart is right at the center of that.
Okay, so it's important. And so, how do we open the heart chakra, first of all? And then, how do we manage to keep the heart chakra open?
Okay, I thought we might build up to that part. Well, to open it, it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision. In yoga, the Sanskrit name for the heart is anahata, which means unstruck.
Mhm.
So many of us have experienced something much different than that. It feels like our hearts have been wounded or left longing a number of times. We have to remember that we are eternal beings and that our heart is invulnerable to
Mhm.
a full destruction. It
Mhm.
is eternal and
Mhm.
unstruck. So we have to first decide that.
Okay. And there's a lesson that correlates to that in A Course in Miracles. Uh, my attack thoughts attack my invulnerability. So anytime we have thoughts that are destructive, they are counter to the truth of our eternal selves and our invulnerable selves. So the heart that is struck is a heart that is felt as if it has been attacked, either through loss, through desertion, through criticism, or any other wounding. Is that accurate?
I would say that's true. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So opening the heart, we'll practice a little bit tonight. And
Mm.
as I said, it starts with a decision, but it is an ongoing process. This
Mhm.
is a part of our nervous system that's going to hold all of our experiences of love
Mhm.
and experiences of the opposite. It's
Yeah.
going to record our experiences of forgiveness as well
Mhm.
as unforgiveness toward
Mhm.
others, toward ourselves. So, typically, to really open the heart and keep it open, we have to release some of our blockages, release our pains, work through them. We have to, again and again, make the decision to open the heart and to allow ourselves and our abundance to flow.
Okay, so that might be a challenging decision for some because their hearts have been so wounded, and as a way of protecting what they perceive to be additional wounds, they close their hearts.
Mhm.
So, how do we get to the point where we make this sometimes momentous decision to open our hearts despite all the pain and heartbreak we've experienced?
The heart chakra is sometimes referred to as the umbilical cord. This is what connects our body to our spirit. This
Mm.
is what connects our spirit to the divine, to
Mhm.
God,
Mhm.
to the universe. Um, so, well, let me make a biblical reference. Jesus was often challenged by the Pharisees with tricky questions, trying to get him always to mess up so that they'd have something to report.
Yeah.
And I remember them asking, "Teacher, how many times should you forgive your neighbor? 7 times, 70 times?" And Jesus responded, 70 times 7.
Yes.
In other words, more times than you fools can count.
Yes.
As many times as it takes. Now,
Mhm.
in the ancient Aramaic, the word forgiveness actually means a shift in consciousness. So
Mhm.
change how you view something. It doesn't mean lay down and let them kick you again. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean, set yourself up to be wounded yet again. It means really take a good look at it and
Yeah.
see what is in there for you in terms
Mhm.
of lessons to learn, in terms of
Mhm.
silver linings to any cloud, in terms of any gifts of knowledge
Mhm.
and wisdom that can come from any of our experiences, both
Yeah.
positive and negative.
Mhm. Wow, you're so good, Jim. And
Right?
so, a miracle is a shift in perception. Because what I like to do is I like to take these things and put them in the parlance of A Course in Miracles, because we want to draw that parallel between A Course in Miracles and all of the other spiritual work that we do. So, forgiveness is seeing things differently. In other words, there's a lesson in it, there's a blessing in it, there's something for me to learn or something for me to heal in it. So it sounds like, when our hearts are wounded, another way to see that is not to close ourselves off from additional wounding, but to take the spiritual perspective, when at all possible, that there is something for me to heal or to learn, or there is an opportunity for me to grow here. Would that be accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of my frequent prayers. Spirit, what would you have me know about this? Spirit,
Yes.
what would you have me do with this?
Yes. Yeah. One of the most often used lessons in A Course in Miracles is just that. All things are lessons God would have me learn. Let me see the lesson and the blessing in this.
Right. Now, also, I think opening the heart chakra has a whole lot to do with faith. We have to trust that we are indeed part of a divine power, and
Mhm.
that opening ourselves up does not necessarily have to leave us vulnerable.
Mhm.
So, I very, very often, with any of my heart work, any of my heart meditations, I also make a point of sealing off my boundaries, my energetic boundaries at the end of such a meditation or prayer, so that I can feel safe and whole in my own space, able to step in, step out of any other experience, but without a tether, without
Mm.
an energetic thread or
Mhm.
tangled up in anyone else's spider webs, frankly.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. So what I hear is that opening the heart first requires faith, faith that there is light, faith that there is love, faith that there is healing, faith that there is a reason for this all. So how do we kind of make that leap to understand that there is a higher power? And one of the things that comes to mind is an old saying that I heard: a heart that breaks, breaks open. And what I interpreted that to be was, when you have a broken heart, that guides you to your soul, for there's nothing else that you can do on the earth plane except call out for God.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Jim?
Your initial question, how does one make the leap to trust in a divine? I really don't know how everyone does that.
Mm.
I, was raised Catholic and I learned the Bible through
Mhm.
that ministry. I don't
Mhm.
consider myself Catholic at this point. My faith is so much more based in my experiences. I
Yeah.
think for me, trusting that there is divine and that I am part of it has
Mhm.
been very experiential. I'm observing inwardly,
Mhm.
all of the time, part of every day. And I've noticed that none of my experiences, none of my emotions, none of my thoughts stay forever. They
Mhm.
shift, they
Yeah.
tend to cycle around,
Yeah.
but we never stay happy forever. We never stay sad forever.
Mhm.
Similarly, I'm watching nature around me and I see it restore itself and I see its
Mm.
cyclical patterns. And I know that my body is built from the same materials.
Mm.
So, uh, also, from there, just spending time in prayer and meditation.
Okay.
Prayer is my expression, meditation is my reception.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, I find that the more I practice, the more a, a divine knowing comes to
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So it sounds like you just become more aware of that force or that source all around you and in all things. And
Mhm.
almost by default, you then tap into it.
Yes.
And
And it
that's
requires a continued observation inwardly and outwardly.
mhm. What am I feeling inside? And what outside is triggering me or guiding me to healing or growth? Is that accurate?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And how might I reach even further? Because this
Hmm.
is probably not the whole picture.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So we now understand for our viewers as a bit of a review, our heart might open through traumatic experiences. Our task is to understand what the lesson or the blessing is in those, and by reaching out to the divine, by communing with the divine through meditation, prayer, and through other techniques, we strengthen that connection. And thus we strengthen our faith. And as a result, that force, that source, in a sense, as you said, like an umbilical cord, keeps feeding us.
Mhm,
And we strengthen in our faith. We begin to trust that force and that source even more. And we begin to have a deeper relationship with that force. And that's one of the things that opens our heart.
mhm.
Now, how can we keep our hearts open as we go through the world? Because, some have perceived the world to be a bit challenging.
Well, again, for me, it's practice. I
Okay.
practice opening my heart every day. I'm
Mhm,
sending love and light to the people that I genuinely love and care
mhm,
about. I'm also sending love and light to places in the world that I know are more troubled.
mm.
And I also believe that it's safe for me to do that because then I'll pull myself back in and just sit in my own loving light. And
Okay.
again, reset the boundaries around it. So I know that I can stretch as far as I desire, just
Mm,
as God does.
okay.
And then I can come back to my experience of me and my life, and I can restore a boundary around me.
Okay. So if I hear you correctly, just to restate it, one of the things that you do is remember that you are a conduit and a channel for love and light. And you practice receiving and sharing that light, and each time you do it, it expands your capacity to hold light, your capacity to heal yourself with light, your capacity to support others in their healing journey with this light. So I think what you're telling our viewers is you keep your heart open by your daily spiritual practice. And through that daily spiritual practice, you expand your awareness of light, you expand your trust of light, you expand the power of the light within you and its ability to continually generate good in your life. Is
Yes.
I is I hearing that correctly? Is I
Yes,
hearing that
yes, that's
correctly?
very, very well said. Very well
I
said.
speaks good.
Yeah. And another aspect of that, Jim, is that it just feels good.
Mm,
It feels good when we're thinking happy thoughts, when we're
yes.
basking ourselves in love, when we're sharing love. It automatically, for the body, creates endorphins and other
Mhm.
happy hormones. It just feels better.
Okay. Yes.
So again, that's reinforcement through the personal experience that love is better than not love.
Yes. Love feels good. So why not avail yourself to it?
Mhm.
Oh, wonderful. So we're going to talk a lot more about this. And I see we've got some questions, and we're going to answer them on the other side of the break. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to answer your questions. If you've not had a chance to get your questions in, you can type them in the chat here, and we'll answer them on the other side on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity, Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity. And we're going to handle some of your questions now. One of the things that you said, Jim, that elicited a response was about the repetitive nature of healing and the repetitive nature of forgiveness. So Shay had a question at 8:12 about that we can discuss a little more. The essence of the question was, why do we have to keep forgiving over and over? Our hearts soften, forgiveness comes, but then the same hurt comes up again. And that, to me, is indicative of the repetitive, yet the cumulative nature of healing. Our heart and our energy is in layers. And as we heal one layer, we open to light. That light feels great, but it penetrates to a deeper layer where an echo of that same hurt might exist. It's triggered, and so we go back and forth, but we're always going deeper. Now, it's very easy to get discouraged by that back and forth. However, it's important to see it differently and to understand that each time we heal, we're healing at a deeper level. And at this point, because of the strength, the velocity, and the power of the light that comes to us, chances are we're healing things at our core level. So this back and forth may not exist for much longer because we are healing the issues at their core. What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
Shay added a second comment, 70 times 7, literally.
Okay.
Yes, I understand. The process of forgiveness can be complicated and, as I said, a process, so many steps to it. I will, forgive another who I've perceived, who has hurt me in a way that I've perceived, and try and understand where they're coming from, what it
Mm,
is they were going for, and see if there is any reasonableness to it, or
yeah.
if it was an error. And I have to also balance that up against love for myself.
Yes.
Okay, love for self is not going to allow someone to continue to hurt me in the same manner.
Mhm.
Will do my best to try to understand where they're coming from. I will speak uh, to the best of my ability in love toward them, that they might learn a different way of being as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll work on my self-forgiveness for allowing this hurt to come to me, or
Yeah.
perhaps even drawing it to me unwittingly,
Mhm.
especially if it's happened more than one time. That means I probably have something to do with it. And so
Mhm.
there may be some self-forgiveness as part of the process. But love sets boundaries. Love
Mhm.
does not allow for continued hurts or disrespect or unloving behaviors to continue.
Mm. I love that.
We can
Love,
forgive from a distance.
yes. I love that. Love sets boundaries. I want to emphasize that piece of brilliance, Jim, because that's so important for our viewers. Love sets boundaries. Love does not need to martyr itself. That unconscious idea of self martyrdom, based on the false idea that we are sinners and we have to work our way into the good graces of God, and therefore we have to martyr ourselves and go through all kinds of trials and tribulations to earn God's favor. Sometimes that's deeply embedded in our consciousness,
Mhm.
and it takes some very interesting expressions. And one of the expressions it takes is, oh, I must martyr myself in deference to others, for this is the way I earn God's love. And I love what you said that frees us from that. Love sets boundaries. And
Mhm.
I want our viewers to just remember that. Love sets boundaries.
Yes.
Now, one of the other things you said, Jim, that I want us to drill down on a little bit is how you always bring it back to you and what is within you that requires observation and perhaps healing. Um, I use these little sayings that are like mantras for me, and mine is everything I see begins and ends with me. And what that does is it asks me, instead of wasting my energy blaming somebody else, I ask, what within me is operating at a frequency of vibration, or what thoughts within me are supporting this dynamic that I don't enjoy? And then I start seeing forgiveness a little differently. I start seeing forgiveness as not an act that I do to somebody else, because somebody else was just doing their spiritual job in triggering me. Then forgiveness is a state that I attain, an inner state of healing, an inner state of peace, an inner state where of oneness with love, so that part of me that didn't feel loved or lovable and drew this challenging situation feels love, feels lovable, sets a boundary, and no longer engages in that dynamic. And that different definition of forgiveness is one that works for me as an inner state that I attain, an inner state of freedom, an inner state of alignment with love, an inner state of healing where that part of me that felt unhealed and unworthy uh, feels healed and worthy. And that has had some interesting results for me
Mhm.
as forgiveness as an inner state to be attained. Because, I and a lot of my clients in the past have spent a lot of energy focusing on what someone else did. And sometimes I wonder if some of that energy could be used to focus on our own healing. And when we change the pattern within us, then that other person will not, has no one to engage with. We set ourselves free and we set them free from that pattern that was probably equally damaging to them. What do you think?
Yes, I believe that is true. Another biblical reference, and I would just put forth my disclaimer. I'm not a believer in the Bible literally, word for word, but I think there's some really inspired aspects to it, some beautiful quotes. So right in the book of Genesis, God created humankind in God's own image. That means we are creators too. It doesn't mean God looks like us and is an old white man with a long beard sitting on a cloud ready to judge and either bless us or shock us with lightning. It means that we are co-creators of our own reality. Now, which means several things. It means we have access to all that is because we're a part of it. Our conscious minds are limited. We can't see the whole panorama as the divine can. So I'm going to do my best to co-create from my space. I am my own best manager. And this is the best place from which to do that. This is where I try to keep my office set up, right in my heart chakra.
Okay.
I'm also reminded, Jim, of a story. Several years ago, I had just a wonderful blessing of a personal tour through the Holocaust Museum by Margaret Meisner. Margaret Meisner was in her early 90s at the time and one of the few remaining Holocaust survivors. The docent at the Holocaust Museum. I have never understood how the Holocaust could happen. We've learned about it in history class. I know some of the factual elements, but it still has just never ever made sense to me. My heart simply cannot grasp how that came to be. So with the tour with Margaret Meisner, it was tough. It was tough. And she had a very personal element to it. She pointed out a radio, just looked like an old-fashioned radio. She said, "See that? Every household in the Czech Republic was given a free radio, and we felt so lucky. So we put it in our living room and listened every Sunday evening, and then they added Wednesday evenings. The problem was the only station was Hitler's." That's what they mean by propaganda. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so anyway, we get all the way through the whole museum, and I'm still shaken, and I feel that I have a better intellectual understanding of how the Holocaust may have happened, but I still just cannot comprehend it in my heart. So I sat in the meditation chamber. Oh, I need to reset. And I just put out the question, Spirit, what? I don't know what to do with this. And I heard very clearly in my mind's ear, I shall be a man of love and peace. Basically letting me know that it's beyond my comprehension. I won't understand it. I can't accept it, but I can choose how I want to show up in the world. So I shall be a man of love and peace to the best of my ability. I am the best manager for my own circles, my life experience. So I'm just going to do my best to manage with love and a positive intention.
Beautiful.
Including love for me, including love for all of humanity, including love for nature, including love for all of those wonderful beings that are guiding us without physical form. I just want to stay active in the love.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, one of our viewers, Rosabella, wants you to say a little bit more about love sets boundaries. Is there anything else that you want to share about that? Because she was so struck by that.
Love sets boundaries. We have very complicated bodies. We have very complicated minds. Our minds hold grudges and have a whole myriad of desires and wishes. According to Freud, we have a life wish and a death wish in our unconscious minds all the time as well. So love for self, love for others will often, our egos will set up different conflicts and different motivations. So love sets boundaries is a way of just holding your own respect for self and your space, as well as honoring others in their process. That doesn't mean we have to get tangled up in the process. If somebody goes low, that doesn't mean we have to go low with them.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we were talking about forgiveness, and Tierney was asking you for a little bit more in terms of your ideas and your take on forgiveness, Jim.
As a mental health counselor, I find that it doesn't really even matter so much what the presenting challenges are. I always ask a new client what it is they hope to gain from counseling. But 9 times out of 10, it'll boil down to trauma or loss or grief. Forgiveness gets lodged in the body. Unforgiveness, trauma gets lodged in the body. It can be held anywhere in the nervous system. And freeing ourselves up from that frees up our energy flow. Forgiveness, we're not really taught so well how to do it. We're just supposed to forgive, even as little kids, go shake hands or go give them a hug, say, I forgive you. But we're not often taught the actual a thorough process. An analogy that I often use with myself and with my clients, forgiveness and love would be solid ground. Often the process of forgiving requires us to go right through the middle of the swamp. We can try and go around the swamp to get to higher ground. We can try and build a bridge over it, but the swamp doesn't just go away. So let's go ahead and just trudge through it and really understand all of the feelings, all of the awareness that we can conjure up related to any of our hurts. See if we can understand it a little differently, including what we might gain from it and how we might proceed from that knowing. Which, again, back to Rosabella's question, that probably requires setting some boundaries.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wisdom. And we're going to work with some more questions, your final questions on the other side of the break. And we've got a couple of other things to share with you on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the New Thought Media Network. And we're back here on The Miracle of Prosperity with mental health professional, shaman, medical intuitive, and all-around brilliant spiritual teacher, Jim Goodwin. And we had another question at 8:38 from Diamond Thorn that's right up your alley, Jim. That question from Diamond Thorn: do you think sciatic pain has anything to do with forgiveness?
Very often, yes. Sciatic pain will typically occur lower in the body than the heart chakra. It's probably, well, I've had a number of clients come to me with sciatic pain, and there's usually some imbalance in their relationships that has become lodged and has offset the nerve function. Often there will also be a physical component as well, where perhaps the lumbar spine is not in full alignment and there are some nerves being pinched, exiting from the spinal column or through the hips. But more often than not, there is at the root of it some imbalance in relationships.
Interesting. Now, Jim, you made a promise to us. You mentioned that we were going to do a little heart opening exercise. What would you recommend that we do as a brief heart opening exercise to demonstrate how we can open our hearts and feel more of the flow of prosperity in all its forms?
Well, Jim, give me a time. How much time we got?
We've got 10 minutes to do it.
Okay. Well, the simplest thing that I do is I refer to it as the fourth chakra charge.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and take your hands. Just think for a moment about all the wonderful things your hands have done, all of the loving things your hands have done, maybe even rub them together. You know, our hands have created, our hands have keyed on the keyboard, our hands have cooked, our hands have made love, our hands have nurtured others. So bring that good energy to your awareness and just to the surface of your hands, place them on your heart center. I close my eyes and I just imagine that I'm breathing in love and light directly through my loving hands into my loving heart. And I picture that light in the center of my being. With each breath, each inhale, that light inside me grows larger and brighter. I continue to inhale the love that I come from, the love of the divine, the love of nature, directly into my heart chakra. And I fill myself up from that circulatory center until I can imagine my entire body filled up all the way to the top of my head, all the way to the tips of my toes, filled with that love and that light. You may feel some heat with it or some changes in temperature, body temperature. And as you do that, you can also be aware of your physical body. Be sure that your body is relaxed and easy with your breath. There's no part of you in this moment that needs to hold tight or tense or uncomfortable. You can just let that love completely fill and wash all the way through you, and then keep breathing it in even more. You can stretch that heart-centered light out beyond your body, as large as you would like it to be. And because love is eternal, let's take a moment just to think of those near you that you love most, one by one. Just think the name, and I send you love and light. And imagine some of that love and light going to that person. It will bless them in just the way that they need, without us having to decide for them. Just bless them with love and light, one at a time. You may notice that as you share that love and that light with others, it doesn't diminish you in any way whatsoever. And in fact, you will glow more largely and more brightly because every bit of love that you channel through you comes through you and blesses you first. And if you wish, you can send that love and light anywhere in the world that feels troubled or that has brought any confusion. or simply brings you joy, you can send that love and light anywhere in the world. And just for practice, we've spoken a good amount about forgiveness and about boundaries. You may want to think of someone who has in some way caused you pain and just send them love and light. And notice what that does inside of you. And when you feel complete, you can bring that love and light that surrounds you in a little bit closer. I like to ask Archangel Michael to swing his mighty blue sword all around my energy field. Archangel Michael is a warrior and fully invested in our spiritual growth and our healing. And he teaches us that it's easiest to do that within our own space. Fully whole, safe, complete, agile. We can step in, step out, but we do not have to be tethered in anyone else's energy or expectations. Just whole and safe. And again, fully agile within our own space. Just take a moment to feel that loving light and that energy. Feel your hands warm on your chest. And you too may determine to be a person of love and peace. Love and light. Right where you are as a manager of your own experience, while still connected to all that is. And as you're ready, bring your awareness very, very gently back to the time and space that you're in. You can feel the air that you breathe, hear the sounds around you. Feel the furniture holding you. When you're ready, just gently open your eyes.
Wow. Wow.
The highest lesson related to the heart chakra is that love is divine power. It is the greatest power we ever have to work with and the most wonderful. And it feels best. So we can stretch out in that loving divine power. We can pull it back in and set a boundary for ourselves. Still fully interactive with life. Jesus said, I am in the world, but not of the world. This is one of the ways in which I practice that. I can be a being of light. I can be, to the best of my ability, centered in love and still interact and enjoy. It's a wonderful playground.
Wow. That was so powerful, so helpful, so effective. You were quite the healer. Thank you so very much. We've got a couple of other questions. If someone has forgiven you a wrong, do you still suffer the karma of the wrong? And does karma exist?
Oh, karma absolutely exists. We tend to oversimplify and make it a scorecard, but that's more for our human egos. Karma is about the continuity of our learning experiences as eternal beings in physical bodies. Karma is about our units of instruction. So for any of our wrongdoings, I hope that we are doing our best to clean them up. And we live and learn and grow, so we want to learn even from our own wrongdoings. And we can thank anyone who has forgiven that. If we have opportunity, I think it's helpful to let that person know that we understand how we wronged them and what we would plan to do differently. If we don't have direct access to that person or that experience, we still can do it through the ethers. But it's important, I think, to clean up our messes to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We're getting a lot of feedback on that powerful meditation, and there's a lot of Thanksgiving coming your way, Jim. So I want to thank you personally for being such a wonderful and wise light. We all appreciate you so. So, what are you working on these days, Jim?
Well, I am writing an autobiography, just a
Ooh.
little at a time. I can't say I'm giving it as much time and attention as I wish,
Uh-huh.
but it's basically autobiographical, and it's sharing about the important teachers that have been shown up in my life,
Hmm.
everything that I've learned about holistic healing
Hmm.
and about the divine and about myself. Um, Somehow came to me in the most perfect time, and often through the most perfect person. Some of those teachers, so each chapter is devoted to a different teacher in my development. Some of
Hmm.
them taught really wonderful, loving lessons, and some of them taught paradoxically. They taught in opposites through hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm working on telling some of those stories, and I hope to complete that book before too long. I'm also in brainstorming process of putting together healers training school.
Hmm.
I'm imagining taking those who would like to expand their own healing gifts through 3 levels of Reiki to become
Hmm.
Reiki masters. I would introduce them to some shamanism.
Hmm.
We would do an overview of developmental psychology because, as I said, the whole body can hold our memories and our
Hmm.
experiences, both positive and negative.
Hmm.
So it's important to have some understanding of the human developmental processes,
Hmm.
and then really just help guide people to tap into their own intuitive gifts. Not one of us is going to be exactly like the others. So I'll teach everyone what I do, what I see, how I experience healing, but
Hmm.
also help them tap into their own custom experiences.
Wow, that sounds exciting,
So I
Jim.
hope to launch that school in September, but
You
to be announced.
okay, okay, wonderful, wonderful. It sounds absolutely wonderful. You're working on some very interesting things.
Yes, yes. So, Jim, what are you working on?
Well,
I know you're always working on interesting things as well.
yeah, yeah. I'm working on a couple of new classes because you see, Spirit has been downloading to me all this new information and more information. Just when you think you've got all this information, Spirit downloads a bucket more. So I'm doing a new class that starts in June called Spirit Speaks More on Manifestation.
Ah,
And Spirit will continually downloading through me to everybody who takes this course more information on how they can manifest their heart's desires, individual guidance, individual prayers, individual healing, individual insights, and collective guidance, prayers, healing, and insights on how we can all use this manifestation process to manifest our heart's desires. And so that's what I'm doing on Mondays. And it's actually 8 weeks instead of 6. It's a mid-year manifestation checkup, and it's a mid-year manifestation intensive. So it's 8 weeks starting in June through June, full of July, and half of August. And in addition to the 8 weeks, the people also get one 20-minute private consultation with me as a part of this package.
mhm.
And it's a twofer, 2 classes for the price of one. So the other class that I'm doing with that is called More Manifestation Methods. Because Spirit has been downloading to me more ways to manifest, more techniques, and more tools. And so the Thursday night course will be experiential, where we get to use and customize these manifestation methods to what it is that we want to manifest individually and collectively. So it's 2 classes for the price of one. It's an 8-week mid-year manifestation intensive. We'll update our vision boards. We'll work with the new energies, new insights, and new information of manifestation. If you can't make it, there's an audit option where you get the recordings only. And that's very important because some people can't make it to the classes, but they really want the information and they want to take the class on their own time. And so the audit option enables you to do that. And so you can audit this course and just get the recordings. And what that also does is it frees up the class space for more people to interact. Because these classes are so interactive, I have to limit their size. And for example, I just started announcing this class 3 days ago, and it's already 30% filled. And the reason that that's important is so that if you have an interest in this class, it's better to sign up sooner rather than later. Because one of my least favorite things to do is to tell people, I'm sorry, the class is filled. So this summer manifestation intensive is quite powerful because it includes so much new information, new energy, and new creative power. As a result of the eclipse and other things happening, we all have so much more access to more of the creative power. So our task is to use it as effectively and efficiently as possible. And the Summer Manifestation Intensive will help you to do that. So that's one of the things I'm working on, Jim. And I look forward to this and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, Jim, both classes sound absolutely wonderful. I've learned so much from you myself, and just for the other viewers, I've done those personal consultations. Very powerful, very, very helpful. So I applaud you. I already consider you a gifted teacher, a gifted healer, a gifted person. And the fact that you're continually growing and seeking to add more to your repertoire and continually sharing it with others.
Well, thank
Hats
you.
off. Great appreciation.
And I have that same appreciation for you. I am in awe of your energy, your gifts, your lightness, which is light and kindness together. Your lightness, kindness, your light, your wisdom, and all that you are. The light in me acknowledges, respects, reveres, loves, and embraces the light in you. And we're also thankful that you took some of your precious time and shared it with us tonight. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. We will have you back here on the Miracle of Prosperity.
But you sound like you're getting ready to sign off. Don't yet. We have one more announcement.
Oh, okay.
Jim and Reverend Jim and I will be co-leading with Reverend Lisa Ray and DeAndrew and
Alan Parker, yes.
And Savitri Khalsa. Okay, a retreat weekend, awareness, awakening, and renewal, June 20th through the 23rd. It'll be in lovely Northeast Maryland at a wonderful retreat center right on the water at the top of the Chesapeake Bay. But we'll be helping to guide one another and all of the participants to elevating upward, being able to reach more easily and fully to our highest experience and our highest selves, and bring it to this earthly plane.
That should be wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing you then, Jim.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope some of our viewers will be able to join us as well. And in the meantime, everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us here on the New Thought Media Network.